Alrighty guys, welcome back to Star Wars Review. Today I'm reviewing Yoda Issue 3, subtitled Light and Life Part 3 Consequences, which was written by Cavan Scott with art by Nico Leon, and was released on January 25th, 2023, which I thought was more the same from the last issue, which instead of picking up right after the last issue, it instead picks up decades later, where we see the Scalvi, I guess, kind of thriving after Bree took down the Krolikon leader, Ryak, which we see Bree's nephew kind of like reenacting that tale of what happened and whatnot, and, you know, kind of thinking it to be some great tale and whatnot, which we see that Bree kind of doesn't see it that way, kind of doesn't think that maybe it was that good of a thing, because we do see flashbacks to the moments right after the events of the last issue. You know, all the Scalvi are celebrating and whatnot, but we see that Yoda is not celebrating, and he kind of sets off to leave, which Bree kind of talks to him a little bit beforehand, which Yoda reveals his capture wasn't, you know, actually a capture, and that he planned it to kind of test Bree, which Yoda says, you know, he realizes now afterwards how much he has failed, which, you know, that's the last things Yoda told him, and the last time Bree has seen Yoda. You know, Yoda obviously says he failed because, you know, Bree went to the dark side, I guess, a little, instead of the light side, and, you know, killing Ryak and whatnot. After that flashback, we see that Yoda has returned in the present day, kind of just magically appearing, which Yoda kind of pulls out that musical instrument Bree had given him decades beforehand, which Yoda shows him how much he's improved at playing it. But after that little bit, the alarms start going off that the Krolikon are attacking, which, you know, Bree kind of realizes that's not a coincidence that Yoda has magically appeared, which we see Bree kind of thinking on what to do and kind of asking Yoda what to do, but Yoda kind of just sits there playing the musical instrument. So he kind of figures out what to do, which he, instead of attacking the Krolikon, he says just to raise the defenses and wait to see what happens, which Bree's nephew doesn't like that, so he and some of his friends instead go to the Krolikon base and capture one of the younglings who's still there, which, you know, after the Krolikon come back, and which, you know, obviously they didn't end up attacking the Scalvi, but, you know, they come back and realize that, you know, the youngling is gone. And so now they are going to go back to the Scalvi base and actually attack it, or the Scalvi village, I guess. But back at Scalvi village, Bree realizes what his nephew has done, you know, in capturing the youngling, which Bree tells him that, you know, the Krolikon haven't attacked in decades. And, you know, obviously what they were doing wasn't an attack beforehand, and that this will only bring that, and, you know, an attack, which we see the Krolikon, you know, at the gates, and, you know, they're obviously wanting to fight, but we then see Bree come out with the youngling, and, you know, he tells the Scalvi and the Krolikon that there won't be any fighting, you know, today, and he realized that he kind of listened to what that youngling had to say, and kind of learned, you know, what the Krolikon are about, and that they aren't evil, and, you know, that they're just trying to survive just like them. And, you know, they only ever attacked the Scalvi because the Scalvi's island just had more resources. So he says from now on that their people won't be enemies, but neighbors like they actually were, you know, the whole time. But we then see Yoda talking to Master Pra-Tre Vitar, telling him what's happened, and that, you know, he won't be staying this time. Which we also see Vitar apologize to Yoda for doubting him beforehand, you know, for what he was trying to do on Tarak. And, you know, they kind of talk about how, you know, in dark times, you know, light will prevail, even if it takes a long time. And that, you know, patience and trust is just needed and whatnot. Which the issue ends with Yoda leaving Tarak as Bree, the Scalvi, and the Krolikon, you kind of have a feast together. We kind of see Bree watching Yoda's ship leave. But, you know, like I said, I kind of thought it was more of the same. I just wasn't that into this arc. And I just never got super into the stuff with the Scalvi and the click on. I do say I like the message of it, definitely in this final issue of this arc. But everything else I just really didn't care for that much. So yeah, but my grade for this issue is going to be a B-. So yeah, but next I'll review issue 4, which will be the start of the second arc of the series. So you can check that out then. But in the meantime, I've been Swords, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.